We're recording.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our meeting today. Today we will be interviewing Miss Janet Kapp. She is our nutrition teacher here at South Seattle campus. And I'll be asking her information about her schooling, about her college life, and her teaching strategies here at South. So, hi, Miss Kapp. Thanks for coming in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, academics, me.
Sure.
I'm more comfortable talking about that.
Okay.
I have a degree in nutritional sciences and one in biology.
Okay.
I went to school in Arizona. And believe it or not, biology is my first love.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to pursue. But along the way, my advisor said, why don't you get both? So I did.
Nice.
So it took me a long time to get through school. But so I taught biology and life science.
Okay.
That's what I did at first, and then time to think about graduate school, getting a little bored, and then went back into nutrition. So I ended up being a registered dietitian, and then went away from teaching for, a while. I have to think at least 10, 11, 12 years, and then started back, and it's part-time a little bit, and I love it. So then I came around this way. But I love science, and I love biology first.
Okay.
And someday I'm going to be teaching it again.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
And what made you decide on teaching? Is there...
You know, everything's accidental.
Yeah.
I have to say, and it sounds like a cliche, but I had this wonderful biology teacher in the community college I went to,
Okay.
Dr. Kennedy. I remember him forever. And he got me excited about the science itself and then made me think about what it took to actually teach it. And then I had other wonderful teachers at the community college I went to. But I always remember, because I had thought I was not going to, I didn't think I was doing biology at all.
Okay.
But he was just exciting, and he took us to the zoo, and we did stuff like that. But so but it's somewhere along the line, I've dabbled between a lot of careers, but I like to teach. And I think at one time I sat down and said, what are you good at? And I realized I'm sort of good at explaining things.
Okay.
And I like it. And mostly I think I want to make people share my enthusiasm. You know, that's part of it too. But I love to teach.
Okay.
And I like this level the best. It's frustrating. It can be sometimes. Yes.
All right. And my question is, since you majored in biology, what's the best advice you can give to someone who's pursuing a biology career or majoring in biology? What's the best thing or number one thing they should remember?
Well, one thing, and this I tell my students now, because they come in and they take science and they don't get the grades they thought they should have gotten.
Okay.
Because they come in from high school and they, these high grades, and then they face college science and they're like, oh, I've never got this low grade. And so I always tell them, hey, when I first started out in science, I did the minimum in high school, really the minimum, different times. I didn't get good grades. I got C's. But I found out I loved it. So I pursued it, and I worked at it, and I quit doing that whole, it's all grades kind of thing. And I found what I liked in it. And it was hard, but it makes you think. And so the best advice is, if you have this idea, I want to be in biology, it's hard. All science is hard. Not for everybody, we all know those people.
Right.
But most of us have to work really hard at it, and it's worth it. And the other thing I would think is, dabble. Just don't go, oh, I'm going to be this. My biology degree is all over the map because I wanted to know what I liked. The other thing I would say, and I wish I'd done this, the only thing I really look back, and I think when I got out, you have a bachelor's in biology. There's not a ton you can do with it, but I could have worked harder to find something to do with it instead of teaching, because I didn't plan on teaching at first. And I look back at some of the, the people I went to school with, and they found a way in the field. And I wish I had done that. I think I would have ended up teaching anyway, but I would like to, based on my interests, I wish I had used it more effectively.
Okay.
But hang in there. It is hard. You guys are in science. It's hard.
Okay, so let's talk about the classes you teach here.
Okay.
How, from a scale of 1 to 10, how challenging is your class?
Depends. I teach nutrition. People tell me it's challenging. They probably say a lot of other stuff about me too. But I'm a dietitian, so I have two goals. One is they actually look around and go, I can improve the way I eat.
Okay.
The other one is I want them to use their brains to problem solve. And it is only a 100 level class, but, you know, I want them to be able to solve problems around what it means. Why am I telling you to eat a healthy diet? Why are all these recommendations out there? You've got to be able to problem solve it. And so I lecture, you know, they do all sort of the standard things, but I really want them to problem solve and to think it through. So when someone says, where is this answer? And I always say, well, it's right up here. You just have to work it through.
Right.
So I think that one is challenging in terms of content because I teach it as a science. It transfers to UW as a 300 level nutrition class. And not that I'm teaching it at 300 level, but it needs to meet standards.
Right.
And plus, nutrition is a science, and people undervalue it as a science. They sort of think, it's about food. Well, food is science, and if you do biochemistry, you do biology, you're inside of the cell, what you're doing is nutrition.
Right.
So I want that, and I teach health, and it's a 100 level class. The challenge with health is not always the content. One of the challenges is undoing people's preconceived notions about health. But I ask them to step it up and look at health not only personally, but on a community-based level, and look around and look at social determinants of health, inequities, health disparities, and think about how we need to right those disparities. So they do projects. They do a big project where this quarter they're designing a healthy neighborhood. And before I've had them write proposals for community health-based programs. So that level of difficulty is a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't answer it. 1 to 10. How
hard?
Yeah.
I think you'd have to ask my student.
Okay.
It's in my class, Amina.
I did. I would say it's a 6.
Okay.
6 to 7.
It should be in there with a 100 level. It should
Yeah.
not be a 10.
Exactly.
Good, I like that. I think I have students who won't agree, but good.
Okay. And advice, you already answered that question. Okay, I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Janet?
Nutritionist, biologist, for sure.
Yeah.
So you said the students who struggle with biology at first, you know, you might not get the grade that you want. Do you suggest them to retake it or go on to more?
Keep going. You know, the thing is, I realize how competitive it is these days. It's a different world. When I was in college, I just went to the college I wanted to go to, right? It was in-state. My ACT scores were high enough. I worry the retaking. It's an expense. It is going to show up on a transcript that you had to redo it twice. I have a student in a class right now who's retaking all her sciences. The cost alone. I mean, to take my class is over $500.
What if the cost isn't a worry?
Well, I still think it starts to reflect, as the more competitive the world gets, you seeing somebody retake makes you wonder. I've retaken one class in my lifetime, and I can remember at the university when I transferred, the guy going, "Oh, I see you did it twice." And that was, 30 years ago almost, but it depends. I mean, if you fail it, you need to retake it. But, and I know again, the grades are everything, but I think I would move on. I'd find my love. My chemistry grade, I have a chemistry minor. And if you saw my 100 level, you'd go, what in the world is she doing with a chemistry minor? But it got better. It depends. It's a hard sell, but the cost
So like,
and the time.
what grade would you say don't retake it? You're fine.
2.0, I think. Just because that's what I got in my first 100 level. And it didn't stop. Now, I didn't apply to med school. I'm not applying to a competitive nursing program. But my grades got me through with 2 degrees. It got me into graduate school the first time because I did a course in certifying, being a secondary ed teacher. And those grades got me into a master's program at the University of Washington in public health nutrition. So there's more to the person than the grade. I can always remember my advisor was a medical school guy, and at the end, he's like, "You should apply to medical school." So I said, "I don't have the grades." And he said, "Yeah," he said, "it would average out, and I'd like to see someone with more than grades." And I think that still holds true. I really do. Because you get these, I don't know. But it's a tough call, I have to say, and I have a different perspective. The world was less competitive. I didn't go into a competitive program, but there's no way I would have retaken everything from, no way. I couldn't afford it. I was paying my own way. And I don't think it's useful, Yeah.
How would
is it balancing everything, like, for you paying for it, like working and everything, and school?
Well, things were a lot less expensive then. You know, I was trying to put it in your perspective. I was thinking about my first apartment when I was at university, when I finally transferred, because I spent a couple years in community college, which actually was a great college. But I was trying to put it in perspective, and but I always worked. I had to pay my own way. I did not qualify for like grants until you got to get pretty poor, right? Yeah, I was one of the best days of my life in school though, when I was poor enough. Yeah, I tell you, I was like, oh my goodness. But so I worked part-time, but I also worked for I had to pay my rent. But the one thing I found that working part-time really helped me balance my time better. Because if you don't have to work, you got all the time in the world, right, to study, except you don't. So I felt that was really helpful. It's true. I need to have and I looked at my time. It was hard. It was really hard. I did not have support, financial support. I paid my own way. It was cheaper. I lived alone after the first year, which was really exciting. You know, if you ever get your first apartment, it's so great. It's so worth it. But yeah, it was tough. When I went back to graduate school the first time, I was doing a teaching program. I was student teaching because it was a special program where you were in the classroom from the first semester. And I worked full-time. That was extremely difficult, and I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have to. In graduate school, the second time around, I know, it's too much school. I worked part-time. I did get some scholarships and took out some loans for graduate school. Again, it's just hard. You gotta want it. You just really gotta want it. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets as far as I should have did this in school instead of this, or?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Any regrets as far as like, oh, I should have focused more on this rather than this, or?
You know, when I applied to graduate school at UW, I applied to the biology. This is my biggest regret. I wish I'd gotten a master's of biology teaching as well. I miss it. No, I didn't expect to stay here. I came up here to go to grad school. And this is Seattle to me, 20 years ago is when I moved here. Wow, it was so diverse. I'd always wanted to do international nutrition. Well, I did it here. I mean, no, if I had moved here, I would not have got exposed to all the things, all the schooling. Yeah, I think I sacrificed some other things in my personal life, but I got to do stuff I never expected to do because, just sort of went, don't look, leap. And so that's why when I have to, this is my one piece of advice for students is they come in and they go, I'm going to be this, 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 and this. And I think, no, don't. Open up a little bit. I know it's a different world, but allow yourself to change your mind or take a break or do something different. Don't get locked in. I think that's my best advice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Alright. So, like, for the don't get locked in part, like, my current path, it's like, if I want to transfer on my time, I'm going to need to take a really, really crazy hard quarter. That's going to be like 5 classes, so there's not enough time to even do that.
No, don't do it.
So,
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
Absolutely not. More students sitting in my office begging me for a passing grade because they had to take 25 to finish. And I don't give passing grades unless you earn them. I would say don't do it. I mean, there were times when I was in school that I maximized it, what I could do. But if you can do 5 well, good for you. But if you legitimately look and go, there are not enough hours in my day, I only have 24, I wouldn't do it. I would do things well and learn it. Not just, I have other students who just tick things off. I just need that credit. Learn it. You're here.
Yeah.
And as far as when I say locked in, you may know where you want. Just don't lock yourself into never seeing what else you can do with it. But,
Yeah, like, I'm interested in, like, bioengineering, and they only took in 8 people last year.
Wow. So what's their priority then? Are they looking for grades or?
I think so.
So then you want to maximize your grade point average. Can you do it with 25 credits?
If I stop tutoring too, I could probably do it.
Yeah, but do you like tutoring? Don't answer that on camera.
I would like it better if I could do it in a different room than I do right now.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, then move the room, but I mean, I wouldn't give up your whole life for 25 credits. I wouldn't do it. You know, I mean, I'm not the best model. I have 13 years of college combined, not necessarily. But I would, more than the grade, it's learning the material. And I would slow down. That's my advice. I'm not an advisor, but yeah, you gotta have a life too.
My advisor's really worried about it too.
Good, good. See, listen to your advisor. But get a different room for the tutoring. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Good luck for you guys.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for doing this again, Ms. Kapp.
You're welcome.